Hitler didn't start suddenly war in 1939. No. It was way before. It was a buildup. It was a buildup. Years before that, I witnessed buildup in my own country. Okay, I'm a Serbian from Croatia. The buildup was my home was detonated 2 years before I was exiled. Buildup. And everyone was quiet. Too terrified to speak. Or they were thinking they were betraying their own people if they say anything. Okay? It's buildup of the things what will happen. Okay. So think about this. What blocks you from critical thinking? We had to do that. Not to question, not to confront. And also that's how obedience and tyranny begins. Not with weapons, but with unchallenged obedience. Let me repeat this. Tyranny begins and abuse begins. Abuse, okay, abuse can happen in a home, but let's say the tyranny, the fascism, the start of the war, bigger landscape, it's happening in your country. It starts by unchallenged, obedient people. When you have been trained to survive, not to think. Critical thinking feels like betrayal. Questioning what your culture is doing now, your religion, your president, a party you voted, can feel like a betrayal on personal level. And it can feel as you're betraying your own community, as you're betraying your culture, betraying your religion or your spiritual group, your place of belonging. It can feel as betrayal of your parents, who might fully believe in something what is not just for you, because they're so designed and programmed and conditioned to think only one way. Okay, so you might feel as now I'm losing the sense of belonging. It's a big reshift on the nervous system, right? Because it feels that change, it can feel, and it feels like a betrayal. Okay. But what if betrayal is not what's happening? What if living by your moral values, by your honor, by your dignity is actually what's happening? You don't need another affirmation. You don't need another vision board. You need to pause. You need to develop on a soma level this muscle of questioning and thinking, even if your voice shakes. Absolutely. Even if you have been taught to stay silent, question. People in the United States, my heart goes to you. Please question. Speak. You can say, this is not okay, I don't agree. It doesn't need to come from the place of rage. Even if your nervous system begs you to disappear, remember, numb individuals create numb societies, and numb societies make room for tyranny and Nazi culture. And you will be then either Nazi or obedient one. And please, all historians, there's a great woman, H.C., I don't know her full name. She can back this up. And if you have lived through dictatorship, genocide, war, like I have, then you already know the most dangerous threat is not dictator, is not your enemy. It's the millions of people and people around you, many times including you, not having ability to do critical thinking, or having a people who trade clarity for comfort, or moral bravery for convenience, or even worse nowadays, for apathy. And what will most likely kill you is not a gun. Is not a gun. I was held at a gunpoint so many times in my life and witnessed my parents as well. And what saved me is critical thinking in the moment where you know your life might end. And that critical thinking needs to be on it 24/7, especially if you're living in an environment where you have been threatened, where your safety is jeopardized. If you're a minority, you know that. People of color, you know that. If you're undocumented, if you're less off, if you're exiled, if you're cast out or cut out. Critical thinking is your resistance. It is how you stay human. And also by resistance, I don't mean by putting yourself in danger, but how you also survive. You will start living under tyranny, fascism, autocracy, in the prison of your own country. Not that you will. You look what's happening in the United States. Oh my God. It's out there. It's out there. They're already living under autocracy and tyranny. Why? No critical thinking. That leads staying silent when others are harmed. That means losing your moral clarity, your moral bravery, sense of humanity, sense of solidarity, people. Staying silent when others are harmed is not okay. Also, very common is confusing gaslighting with intuition. Don't confuse those two. Okay? Because if someone is gaslighting you and you have that pulse of your own intuition, that's your critical thinking, assessment, your feeling, your gut brain is telling you, assessment brain is telling you. Don't confuse this with gaslighting. But if this muscle is not developed, you will trust that other person who is trying to manipulate you, okay? And when you cannot think clearly, you give away your freedom. You give away your freedom. You give away your integrity. You give away your agency. You give away your confidence. You give away your voice. It's your choice. And the cost of not practicing this, what you have, is now that we have obedience culture. And you're becoming obedient, numb, control citizen. Still good one. Paying your taxes, following the rules. But also you're following something what leads you to insidious dying of yourself. And you're following bad people. And by bad people, I mean, look what's happening in the US. Wow. So that following, that blind following, blind obeying, without your resistance, leads you to insidious dying of yourself, and that leads to resignation syndrome. Okay? Check my other episodes about this. And what is dying? So your your vitality is dying, but also what's dying, which is so more, it will be absolutely must, we need to have that, is moral guidance and clarity. And if we don't have that, this leads then to perfect soil to breed fascism, autocracy, tyranny, as we can see it. When we have that, when we have this field of people without their moral clarity on it, without questioning things, you know what happens? Next, Third World War. And I'm so absolutely have right to say that because I survived genocide and I survived 2 wars. I witnessed for almost a decade that soil. No more clarity. No people. That's when everything begins, when we lose our critical thinking, humanity, solidarity, moral clarity. Okay? So fascism doesn't begin with guns. It begins with disinterest of majority of population, by numb people, by apathy. And it begins with people saying, it's not my business, I'm staying in my frequency. Okay? And then by the time surveillance begins, books are banned, protests are criminalized, solidarity is punished, it's too late. So check my episode on self-care is killing our humanity, okay? And rises of tyranny and fascism. So when you're too busy with self-care to practice collective care, too busy managing our nervous system to ask who is being disappeared, you're building that soil for tyranny, where you will lose your freedom. Not you will, you lost the freedom if you're in the United States. So we need to do both. And what's missing here is critical thinking. Why? Because autocracy, fascism, right? Tyranny, those systems, they need you to stay numb. So let me say this again, clearly and with care. Let it land, okay? Let it land in you. Autocracy does not need you. Autocracy doesn't need you to agree. It only needs you to obey, to stay silent, to get too tired, to care. That's why we will see cost of living is rising, wages are the same, and many of us are working 2-3 jobs to pay the bills. When you're so exhausted, you cannot think about your country where you live. They want you tired, okay?